Hey folks, welcome back to the channel. Today it's skimmer time. I've got a Reef Octopus skimmer that has come in and I'm ready to get it installed. This is the Reef Octopus Classic 110S, and I think here it's rated for US gallons. Let's see if I can... 132 gallons. I think that's a stretch. So I do think that this skimmer is underpowered, I should say, for this tank. The primary reason that's happening, or I went with this skimmer, is because I want to fit it in a pretty small space. I want to try to keep the UV sterilizer in there with the skimmer, and so I went with a little bit smaller footprint skimmer, and I hope that I am successful in making it fit. Now ideally I would have probably gone with the Classic 150S as a Reef Octopus skimmer. That's probably a little bit better rated for a heavily stocked tank where I'm going to be having a lot of SPS. But you know, in my past tanks I've had trouble keeping adequate nutrients, so I'm okay with a little bit underrated skimmer. I think I'm going to be okay, and I have a Fuge, so it's not my only form of nutrient export, so I think I'm going to be okay. But if I get in a bind or we start to struggle with nutrients, we can always upgrade the skimmer. So you may be asking yourself, you know, why did I go with this skimmer? The first main reason is price point. So I was looking for something around $300. So a very basic skimmer. This isn't fancy by any means. It's a pretty entry-level type skimmer, and that's kind of what I'm comfortable with, what I've had success with. So I was looking for something in that price point. Now the second reason, I've ran a few other skimmers in this price point. You know, like it's a Bubble Magus curve skimmers, like the 5 and the 7. I've had those, and a few of the other cone skimmers, and I've really struggled with stability with those skimmers. They'll overflow, constantly have to adjust them and fiddle with them. And this design isn't that kind of modern cone look, but the reviews of these older classic Reef Octopus design skimmers are that they're just kind of plug and play, and they do the job. They're a workhorse. And you may not get, you know, the best efficiency possible, but you're going to get consistent work out of it, and something I just don't want to have to touch and fiddle with. Now every skimmer you have to fiddle with. You do a water change, or you feed, or you get your hand in the tank, and you have to do some adjustments. But I really chose a skimmer because, one, it was in the price point I was comfortable with. Two, it has a small footprint, so I'm hoping it fits in the spot I'm going to put it. And three is the reviews really led me to go with this design rather than a cone skimmer that I've used in the past, because they're kind of set and forget, or more so than other skimmers. So that's kind of why I went with this design. And I looked at Aquamax, I looked at the Bubble Magus, or Magus, however you say it. I looked at the Red Sea skimmer. That even didn't get great reviews. Based on what I was looking at. So I'm hoping that this one works out well and will be more of a set and forget and have some stable skimmate being produced and will get me by. And most importantly, will it fit? So that's the next step here. Is let's get this rinsed out and see if we can get it in the sump and get it squeezed in there to fit with the UV sterilizer, my refugium, a few other pumps, and etc. Some other things going on in the sump. So let's go from there. Alright, so it went together really quick, just like any other skimmer really. There's kind of 4 nuts or screws here at the bottom to release the plate. There's the bubble plate that goes on top of the pump. We have an adjuster here for air. Negatives. So, unlike the more modern designs where you have a little skimmate drain coming off the collection cup, this does not have that. So that's one negative to this design, but I never really used that too much anyway, personally, so I wasn't too worried about that. The other negative review or reviews I've heard is a skimmer collection cup is a little difficult to remove. Sometimes it takes a couple hands, and that can be a little annoying or difficult when you're, hunched over in a tight space. So this cup can be a little tight. There we go. Got it off with one hand, but yeah, that would have spilled lovely skimmate everywhere. So that's one of the other drawbacks. But I'm hoping the stability is what overcomes some of these limitations. It's more of a set and forget type skimmer. But we will see. Let's see if we can get it to fit now. Alright guys, she's in. And I got a little bit of room to spare below the UV sterilizer. And I can angle it and still get the skimmer cup off okay. So I'm pretty happy with that. That gives me enough room in here for this pump that feeds the UV sterilizer. And yeah, it seems to fit okay. So again, this skimmer is, I would argue, is a little bit undersized for this tank, even though it's rated for higher. I think they tend to exaggerate quite a bit. But for a heavily stocked tank with SPS as the goal, the skimmer will be a little bit undersized, I would think. But I like that it fits. We're going to see how well she skims and how well she functions. I am really happy I have all the equipment confined to this space and I don't have to have the UV sterilizer on the outside or move things around. I was wondering, I may have had to move the fuge, the live rock and the rubble and the Kato and stuff in the back and bring the skimmer in front, but I don't have to do that. So that makes this a little easier. And this front space isn't as big, and I can't adjust the water level in this front chamber, which I kind of want to be able to do in case I need to fine tune how much depth of water we need to have for this skimmer, which I think 7 to 8 inches should do its job, do the trick. So next, let me, I've got her plugged in. Let me see if I can get her to fire up here. Here's my Apex. And I'm going to, real quick, turn on the pump. She fired up. And you know what? That's really quiet. That's a really quiet, yeah, that's a really quiet skimmer, guys. I've had, oh shoot, probably 6 or 7 different skimmers. I've even, one of those tanks that I serviced, we bought a Deltec skimmer, super expensive, automatic head that clean the automatic robotic head, cleaner up top, all the bells and whistles for that skimmer, several $100. But this skimmer is pretty darn quiet. I think the quietest skimmer I've ever had, to be honest. So that's impressive. So we'll let this break in, and I'll come back in a couple days and we'll show you what she's doing and whether she's pulling anything out. But I'm really pleased that she fit. Again, I could have squeezed in a little bit bigger. I know I'm being pretty generous with space here, but I also want to think about the future. I may want to throw a little reactor in here, things of that nature, and so I think this is going to work out okay for me, as long as she's pretty steady at skimming. Alright, let's give it a few days to break in. Alright guys, we're on day 3 with the skimmer. Let's take a look. It's pulling some good skimming out. Looks like it's skimming a little wet. That's okay. There's a reasonable break-in period, I think, but to be honest, 3 days and we're already skimming this is pretty good. And the display, lights are off, but the display up top, there was some micro bubbles the first day or so, but yeah, not too many micro bubbles now. Give it a day, and that slowed down quite a bit. So we'll keep seeing how she does. Again, this thing is dead quiet. That's probably the quietest skimmer I've ever owned, and I've had 6 or 7. Things from high-end Deltecs, like I mentioned, and just kind of entry-level skimmers, Bubble Magus, etc. So this thing is quiet. I really like that. So yeah, that's the update on the skimmer.